Hey, I'm just going to take a few minutes to share a little bit about me. Welcome to the Natalie Show. But no, I know opening up to someone can be really tricky, and so yeah, it's definitely important to me that you have the chance to know a bit about me, and hopefully that helps you to feel like a little more reassured that I'm not just a random internet stranger, but I'm here. I've got my own story, and yeah. So I guess going back to the start, I had no idea around like nutrition, I guess, but looking back, I think I realized around the age of like 18 or 19 that I'd always in the back of my mind kind of been on a diet. Even though I wasn't really trying or being intentional, like I always kind of just felt guilty when I like ate a lot or I ate like bad food, and I was just like sick of it. The 50% of always kind of feeling like, oh, I shouldn't be doing that, but I'll do it anyway, and then it's like, oh, I don't feel great about that. So I think as like kind of like an act of rebellion, I decided that like I wasn't going to let myself feel guilty or worry about what I was eating anymore, and I decided I went the complete opposite way essentially. Here I didn't say no to anything. I indulged in everything that I fancied. I would pretty much always overeat stuff that I enjoyed to the point of like feeling sick. I'd feel like annoyed when other people would turn things down and say stuff like, "Oh no, thanks, like I've had enough now," or like they said, "No, I'm good," when I offer them another biscuit, because I think that they weren't allowing themselves to indulge because of like they were getting the feelings of guilt that I used to feel. I never considered it from like a health impact, and I didn't consider my own health. I didn't consider the impact that overindulging was having on my own health, because I also ate like a very nutrient dense vegan diet. I'm vegan, filled with like vegetables and seeds and lentils and stuff. So even though I was eating this really nutrient dense food, I was overindulging as well on the side. But because I had that like healthy aspect to my diet, I didn't consider that, this was not good for my health. So anyway, skip forward to my 21st birthday. I had a little bit of a moment. I'll see if I can find the photos. Um, but I had a bit of a moment where I saw these photos myself, and I basically like just didn't recognize who this girl was. And I was trying to take a million photos. I couldn't get the one that I wanted because I just didn't look like the way that I thought I looked in my head, which is weird. Um, so I thought, right, okay, maybe this being no discipline or self control around food, maybe this has got a little bit too far. Um, so I tried to diet for a while. I thought, well, I'll rein it in and I'll go on a diet. But like nothing really lasted very long. It didn't work very well because I didn't know what I was doing. Right? I thought I couldn't differentiate between eating healthy and then actually eating to lose weight. And I thought that if I ate healthy, I'll just lose weight, and I didn't know what calorie deficit was, all of that stuff. Anyway, so when I was introduced to calorie counting, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. I'd lost weight. I started exercising because of the weight loss. I felt more capable. Like I could do stuff that I was never capable of doing before, like squats and handstands and yeah, everything. Where's some early pictures of me in the gym? Anyway, yeah, I felt great. I'd managed to lose some weight, and I was still able to eat all of the foods that I used to think were bad. I could fit them into my calories, and I was still losing weight. Wow. Um, However, because of the calorie counting and because I was wanting to eat all these foods, um, I it it's these foods started becoming in place of my healthy foods, right? Um, so at the cost of my healthy foods that I used to enjoy as part of my normal diet, I would eat these foods that I loved and that I thought previously were off the table. And yes, I still lost a lot of weight, but I felt awful. My digestion was all over the place. My mental health was in bits, like really bad. I was like regularly going to the gym by this point as well, and my strength just like hit a wall. I couldn't progress whatsoever. So this lasted about a year or two. Came off Instagram, so there's a big gap like in this year where my mental health was just on the floor. Um, until I decided that I'm going to stop calorie counting because I thought I've lost all the weight that I want to. I've been calorie counting for a while. I must know how to eat intuitively by now, right? Wrong. I binged on everything. Again, this isn't on my Instagram because this was I'd given up Instagram at this point because I shouldn't have the mental capacity for it. But yeah, I binged on everything multiple times a week. I could not control myself around nice food. I without seeing the numbers, like without calorie tracking, I used to sort of kid myself into thinking that I hadn't overeaten, I hadn't had too much. It used to be kind of like, no, I'll just treat myself. Except that would turn into like multiple packs of biscuits. I would spend like 30, 40 quid on ordering like baked delivery stuff. And, I'd tell myself that I'll put it in the freezer and I'll make it last. It'd be eaten within a day. Like, I just couldn't control myself. I drank a lot of red wine, which I'd previously like sworn off completely because I knew it led me to be really disinhibited around food, and exactly that's what it did when I reintroduced it. I restarted drinking it, and yeah, that happened. And I also went traveling for a few months. I ate at lots of amazing places. I'd go to like multiple places for the same meal. So if I was solo traveling, I'd find like 3 different lunch spots that I wanted to eat at. So it wouldn't be a case of like choosing, like leaning into the, being really intentional and being like, that's what I want. It would just be a case of going to all 3 and having 3 lunches, because I feel like food was the only thing that like really truly made me feel like comforted. Anyway, so I put on a lot of weight. I didn't put on all of it like back on, but I put a lot of it back on. And it was only then that I kind of realised that yes, I was unhappy about the weight. But the main thing was I missed how I felt, right? I missed like not when I was my smallest, but like I missed in the really early days when I was exercising regularly. I felt really capable, feeling strong. I was starting to look toned. I was allowing myself treats and having something nice each day, but I was also still following that like relatively healthy diet, and I wasn't overindulging on stuff just for the sake of it. Anyway, so around this time I got a coach, and she created a lot of, psychological safety for me around food, as she gave me a higher calorie allowance than I'd ever known. Um, and I started to make some really good progress at the gym again, which meant that I was able to eat the calories and put them to good use. I wasn't necessarily gaining weight, but I wasn't gaining fat, but I was getting stronger and I was gaining a bit of muscle, and I was starting to feel like I was fueling again, and I loved it. Anyway, and yeah, I got to a point where I once again I managed to just, well, more than ever before, I managed to just feel so at peace with food. Um, and during all that time was also when I was completing my own coaching certifications, and I also embarked on my psychotherapy training as well, which is a longer journey that's going to take 4 or 5 years, but I study that on the side, which I'm sure you can imagine plays a really big part in the coaching side of stuff as well, because it is all interlinked, and obviously mindset and mentality and grow the habits that we grow up with and the stories we tell ourselves and all that stuff, it really intertwines. But anyway, yes, so after a while I finally felt like I'd got the balance right. It was time to diet to try and get the body that I wanted, now that I was in a really good place mentally with food and exercise. I did a diet. Here's why I delayed my fat loss phase. That's the thing. I did a diet, I successfully lost the weight, and I've kept it off, right? Because I finally understood the concept of being intentional with food choices and not just like treating myself or overindulging just for the sake of it. Because when I was doing that, I realized that like I kind of stopped enjoying my day-to-day food as much, because it like eating wasn't becoming a positive experience. It was either binge and restrict, or it was shameful experience or it was boring. You know, there was no like in between. Whereas now I really try to focus, like I try to tune into the foods that I want because they make me feel good. Here's a video I did around like my diet kind of looks the same whether I'm eating like 1500 calories or 2500 calories. You know, I eat the food that's going to make me feel good. I think ahead when I can feel myself getting out of control. I think about how I'm going to feel after. I think about why I might be getting those feelings and urges to overeat and overindulge. And yeah, so obviously that's my sort of learning journey. And then Phoebe approached me to ask me to coach for her on her team, because we've obviously got a very similar philosophy and we understand the why behind people getting caught in the yo-yo cycles, binging, restricting, not getting anywhere long term. Yeah, so I've been there. I know how confronting it can be to talk to someone about this stuff and for them to challenge you, to feel really out of control in some moments and feeling like you're broken or feeling really angry at yourself or your coach. Like, I know all those feelings. I've been on the other side. I've been the client. But, you know, as a coach now, I've also helped numerous women like successfully lose weight and keep it off by coaching them away from these habits that I was in, that I recognize as well, and getting them to a place where, you know, they feel in control around food again. So anyway, I'll stop there. Hopefully that wasn't too much of a rant, but that is a little bit about me, I guess. And if you have any more questions about my personal journey, or you want to know more about coaching, then yeah, just let me know. But thanks for listening, and take care.